2.
Welcome, Mayor.
Okay, you're good to go.
Would like to welcome everybody to the Public Safety Committee meeting on Tuesday, October 19th, 2021 at 11:30 a.m. Present here is Councilman Adam Yoder, Councilman John Mackey, Mayor Derek Slaughter, Chris Black, our IT person, Adam Winder from RVT. We also have both Chief Snyder and Chief Bolt. We also have, I see Mark Killian, Chief Fire of the Fire, and Janice Frank, our City Clerk. To get started on today's meeting, we have 4 items on our agenda. Number 1 on the agenda is the Halloween resolution. Going to open up the floor to the committee first, because we've had a ton of emails coming back from administration and also from the committee. Would the committee, anybody on the committee, like to open up about this?
Yeah, certainly. So I believe the city had announced, I think, trick-or-treating's on Sunday this year, the 31st. A lot of constituents were asking about when we were going to do it, which is very much understood. It's a pretty popular thing in the city, especially in my neighborhood. We usually get a lot of traffic and what have you. And then we had announced that, and then I know that we have a resolution that was passed, I think, in 2007, kind of outlining when that is, or when we're going to have trick-or-treating for Halloween, when it falls specifically on a Sunday, as I believe it does this year. So aside from a lot of the public feedback, I think generally the feedback that I've gotten has been, I think, the preference of Saturday over Sunday. Nonetheless, the only real, I guess, concern, question, or comment that I would offer is I think that as minute as it is, I think if we're going to change policy, especially whenever we've had a policy in place for about at least 14 years, I don't know if we've followed that informally longer. I just think we should update our formal policy via resolution or what have you accordingly. Like I said, I know that it's a minute thing, but I think a lot of times to get it right, the devil lies in the details. And I think when we get the details right, we're able to spur more public comment, debate, and keep the public more informed, especially in this context where we've had a longstanding policy. There's been a lot of history, and I think the public's probably been used to it. So that's simply the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of constituents. Some of where my personal thoughts are. Aside from that, I don't know that I have anything else to add.
Before I hand this over to John, I think we'll read the resolution first, okay? So everybody understands where the resolution is. It says, and this was on October 4th, 2007. Whereas public safety requires limiting Halloween activities to one evening, and whereas it has become increasingly difficult to police vandalism and other unlawful acts around Halloween time. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Williamsport that it is the sense of City Council that Halloween activities be limited to the evenings of October 31st of every year, and that the activities be limited to between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. In the event that October 31st shall fall on a Sunday, Halloween activities shall be held one day prior on October 30th, observing the same hours. It is therefore resolved that City Council asks the cooperation of all citizens in limiting Halloween activities to these dates and times. If we do want to change this, and the mayor did put the date out already, as we've stated, if this has to be changed, we'd have to amend the resolution. But I'm going to hand this over to John Mackey to hear your input.
I mean, I don't really have a whole lot more to add. I think Adam summed it up pretty well. I mean, the bottom line is this is something we have to deal with one every 7 years, I guess. You know, and I do believe that there's several news organizations that have already announced that it's on Sunday. So, I mean, whether we wanted to follow the resolution or not, it's too late to change it to Saturday. I do think I mean, just in general, I think it would be nice if every community in our surrounding area could all get on the same page, because I know some are Saturday, some are Sunday. So yeah, no, I think Councilman Yoder summed it up pretty well. And again, this isn't a huge deal for me, but you know.
Okay, Mayor, would you like to take the floor, or do you want the chiefs?
I could just real quick here. It would have to be via ordinance, just to clarify that. Council certainly has the authority to legislate when Halloween days fall, or trick-or-treating, I should say. You know, what day or days that falls into via ordinance and administrative code, which is not there currently, I do not believe. So if council does want to go that route, certainly the administration will follow it. If you want to do it on a school night, as long as I've been trick-or-treating with my kids, I don't believe when it was on a school night, it's ever been moved to the Saturday before. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it has been. We did have a lot of discussion on our side regarding Saturday or Sunday. As Councilman Mackey said, some communities are doing Saturday, some are doing Sunday. And, you know, to be honest, it was probably split right down the middle, with folks asking to keep it on Sunday and folks asking to move it to Saturday. Ultimately, we decided to keep it on Halloween Day, the 31st. And then after we made the announcement, this resolution was produced from 2007, which is before I believe any of us were in our current positions on city council or in administration. Nonetheless, as they mentioned, it's not a huge deal. And some of the items for Saturday night were, you know, that people were against it were, you know, there's a number of parties, you know, people be out and about downtown as far as the restaurants and bars, and there may be increased traffic. So it may be more of a public safety hazard on Saturday night as opposed to Sunday night. You know, and some folks wanted it Saturday and some wanted it Sunday. Ultimately, we decided to keep it Sunday. But as I said, you know, if council so chooses in the future and wants to legislate via ordinance the day of trick-or-treating. But again, you know, I think I would agree that it is kind of minute, as this does not happen, but for every so many years. So it's not like it's going to happen next year or the year after. You know, and it'd be on a school night again. I know a lot of people are saying a school night, but again, I don't, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are school nights as well. And I don't believe we ever switched it then. So, but you know, if it is legislated and council does do it, the next time it falls on a Sunday or whatever council so chooses, you know, obviously the administration would follow that ordinance.
You know, from I think the point of view that I'm going to make here is the only problem that I saw was that a resolution was set up, and like you said, this was done before any of us were around. And to be cognizant of our resolutions, because resolutions, you know, let's face it, resolutions are important. They're made for reasons, and they can't be ignored. And I think that's the one thing that we wanted to do. And we can also, like I said, amend the resolution. And to me, that was the most important part. Taken to, you know, respect what we had already on the books and then amend it. From a mother's point of view, when my kids were young and we were out trick-or-treating, I loved when they were on Friday and Saturdays because it was so much easier all the way around with the kids, you know, getting up in the morning the next day. Getting, you know, doing Halloween during the week, during a school week, it was always problems, you know, with getting the kids up from the sugar high and everything else. But, you know, and you enjoyed when the weekends came. But, you know, we don't delegate when October 31st falls. So it does, to me, you know, this is going to sound very crass, but I don't have any skin in the game. I mean, we're out there handing candy out as it is, you know, whether it's, you know, whatever day of the week it is. So, you know, it's up to us how we want to, do we want to pass this on with a recommendation to amend Or, or how do we want to do this?
The only question that I would pose is, is there, I guess, what data do we have that supports doing it Sunday versus Saturday? I mean, because the resolution was obviously put together and passed to help manage public safety. I think Mayor Slaughter, that was what went into a lot of the discussion that you had within the administration. I guess, what's the data look like to support amending or what have you? What are you guys seeing?
Oh, and I think, well, we're not seeing anything, regarding Saturday to Sunday. As I said, and in speaking with the chiefs, we felt as though Saturday may actually be an increased risk with all the additional things happening.
Okay.
But speaking of Austin White, if we want it to be, an official item, it would have to be via ordinance. Resolution is one thing, but the ordinance actually obviously is law that would go into the city code. So again, I will, again, it's not going to happen for X number of years, but if this is something council wants to look into, I don't see it personally being an issue. But if we want to look at it being Saturday before, I think if you're going to do that, we could discuss Sunday, Thursday, but we didn't get, to be honest with you, we made it Sunday after discussion. I didn't get any phone calls here at our office. After the fact, people just said, okay, it's Sunday, and that was that. So didn't have anyone one way or the other. So okay, it's Sunday, and that's Halloween, and that's when trick-or-treating is.
Chief
Yeah.
Snyder, do you have anything to add?
Me, Chief Snyder.
Chief, are you there?
Yes, is that question for me? I didn't hear it.
Do you have anything to add to what the mayor just said?
No, from our standpoint, from either day, Saturday, Sunday, or any day for that matter, we are going to provide a service. So I'll leave that up to the powers that be.
Okay.
So, Councilwoman Katz, I mean, from what I'm hearing, I don't know that we have much of a public safety concern one way or the other. It seems to me that the policy that's been in place probably has worked, and it sounds like it probably still would work. I guess then, in my mind, the next question would be, does council want to codify it? I have some questions of just, given the feedback that the administration gave us of, the policy being set forth in resolution, I have some just, I think, more broader questions that we don't need to suck up a ton of time here to ask about resolution versus ordinance. I think that's questions that our solicitor needs to answer, because I think council has a long-standing history of, I think, enacting just general policy via resolution that has been followed. And if that's been wrong, I think we need to know that so that we're legislating properly. And I think understanding that issue better is probably the more important, I think, question for me right now. Because either we're not on this, either we're missing something or what have you. That's kind of where I think the discussion needs to go next. And I don't know that we need to do that here.
I don't want to waste more time on this, but I think we're all questioning with the administration the validity of resolutions. I mean, we spend an awful lot of time and paper on resolutions.
Yep.
And if they're not important enough, then we have to understand and know where we're going with all of this. I know, a resolution and ordinance, there's two different things. An ordinance, of course, is a law that you have to uphold. A resolution is a suggestion, more or less. But still, in all, the suggestions are put in place for a reason. And I think that's the discussion for a later date. Right now, and I think, John Mackey, I think you said it all. It's already been advertised. Why are we going to create a problem with our citizens of Williamsport when it has been advertised that Halloween is on Sunday? But we are going to have to amend this because of a resolution. to say that we're going to amend the resolution for this year. What's the opinion? Or do we just want to, it's up to us as the committee, because this is a discussion. This is not going to go to council.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'd like to have some better clarity on resolution versus ordinance, frankly, before really dive into the weeds one way or the other on this. Personally.
Yeah, I would second that for sure. Yeah. I think at this point we could probably just let it be, and I mean nobody's gonna make a big deal about it. So
yep. No, I would agree, John.
I just want everybody to be safe. I want everybody to have a happy Halloween and enjoy it. Let's face it, too many people have been cooped up for a year and a half. Let's go enjoy and put those. This is a perfect way of putting your mask on, for God's sakes, and enjoy the day. Yes, I think Mayor. I think we'll just and Chief will go on with this with it going on Sunday. But I would like to have a further discussion on this, like everybody else, of where we do stand with resolutions and ordinances, and how we're going to handle this in the future. So there's no motion or anything. If there's nothing else to discuss, happy Halloween to everybody. Enjoy it on Sunday, the 31st. Next on the agenda is discussion of police radios. Chief Snyder.
Thank you, ma'am. Now wanted to introduce the need for Motorola radios that we're looking to procure for the police department. These radios that we currently have run their course, I guess, if you will. They've been here. We've had these radios for probably over 15 years now. And one of the dilemmas that we are looking at right now is that within 3 to 5 years, we are not going to be able to communicate with anybody anymore because they're going to be obsolete. So we are looking for ways to procure radios for the police department for both vehicles and personnel. I got a quote here from Motorola. It would be a purchase through CoStars. And open up for any questions right now.
What kind of quote do you have, Chief?
A quote, you mean in terms of numbers?
Yes,
I have a quote right here. Right now, we're looking at approximately $470,000 and $361. This was brought up probably with the last administration, and that was initially probably about $560,000, but we went through and tried to be reasonable on what we needed. And we're able to get a price of $470,000 versus $560,000.
How many radios is this, Chief?
This is 67 radios.
I'm going to tell you, for as long as I've been on council, radios have been coming up constantly, whether it's the band, whether it's the type of radio, whatever, and trying to be consistent with the county. And this, is this what you're looking for too? That the radios are going to be consistent with other municipalities?
Yes, ma'am. They're going to be an upgrade to a P25, which is it's a digital radio that's going to be compliant with the FAA mandation that's going to come about. So essentially what's going on right now, everybody else around us has upgraded to the digital radio, and approximately 3 to 5 years are telling us that we won't be able to communicate anymore with the radios that we currently possess.
I can remember this conversation when the county was going this route, and what difficulties we were having at that point. Well, let me ask you this. Is anybody going after any funding for this at all?
This is what we talked about in the last meeting we had about the rescue funds, and that's where we get the tentative approval for the radios.
How about grants? Would there be any grants out?
There's no current grants that we found that are available right now for radios.
Okay. I'm going to open this up to the floor. John, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, just the few thoughts that are kind of going through my head right now are, what do we envision the police department looking like moving forward. Chief, I know you were working on I think a strategic plan for the department that I think incorporated, staffing and roles and that kind of stuff. This certainly would play into that.
Yes.
Our current force, are we at 45 right now, including administration as well? Is that accurate? 47, somewhere in that range?
We currently have 46. We have one in the academy. So once that cadet graduates, which will be November, we'll be up to 47.
Yeah, and so why the extra radios? I mean, I'm sure we have a few that are going to be spares as a contingency item, but you said what, 65? That's about
67.
67, so that's 20 extra.
Yeah.
Ish. Why so many extra?
I have extra radios if anything happens, and then to assist with other agencies, especially with utilization of the special response team.
Okay.
So having extra radios on available to us.
Okay. Have we had any discussions with other municipalities, including the county, that may be looking to do the same thing? Can we kind of leverage some economies of scale to help everybody out rather than just the city?
Not quite following because you talk about a joint purchase.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we certainly, I would think, could look at and definitely should.
Well, I think we're kind of behind with everybody. I think everybody's kind of made their purchases already. It's easier to procure a few radios for smaller departments than it is a big one.
Yeah.
So for joint purposes, I'm not sure how we would facilitate that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I as always, I'm always a proponent of trying to get external funding sources for as much as we can before we start to look at, general fund or other internal sources of revenue. Rescue plan funding certainly falls into that for me, for sure. I think it's great that we're, looking for ways where we can, I think, maximize what capital we have on hand to make it go further. I mean, we're looking at what, 70, 80,000 less than we had initially thought before. So that's certainly good. A lot of what I would want to see before allocating money to this is, again, what's the future of the police department look like? I think there's some overarching questions that that a lot of us have about what the department should look like. That would drive, specifically with this instance, how many radios we would actually need. So I think a good starting point, but I think there's some broader items that we need to discuss as city leaders. But
Adam, from what I've learned over the years, the radios are so important for our police department, and what we're doing, they are with old equipment at this point, and sometimes it's jeopardizing their response rates because of this. Am I right, Chief?
Yeah, what's happened right now is we're getting spotty service, and sometimes we're not getting the calls or the transmissions out as they need to be.
And this has been going on for years. It really has.
Yes, this has created concern from both. They've been around my entire police career, so I've dealt with it both personally on the street and now as an administrator. And that is one of my biggest fears and concerns when that, the officer in that pursuit or that foot pursuit and that radio is not working properly. One of the biggest things that has come up, especially within this past year and longer years, but especially noticing from this standpoint as a chief, is those officers, when there's a critical incident that's occurring, I'll use, for example, a foot pursuit. We don't know what to expect, what they're pursuing, what's going to happen. And when it's spotty in terms of sometimes we're not getting the full transmission and we're not sure where that officer's at, or there's got to be multiple attempts to transmit until we get that proper location and a clear transmission. So it needs to be addressed. It needs to be identified. So it's an old technology. It's an old radio that we're using. And then coupled with the fact that we are going to have to upgrade, by the the FAA mandate. So
Life expectancy is only 10 years.
and just, yeah, that into there, the life expectancy that is being reported is you're supposed to, after 10 years is up to 10 years or so for a radio, and we're way beyond that.
It's been a long time. Let me ask you this, Chief, and I know I'm stepping on your toes, John, but any kind of funding through the drug the drug money that the county gets, is there any way of getting any of that towards this?
The reality is, though, what happens is we are consistently and constantly asking for money from the drug forfeiture, and which we are getting. The DA is very generous in helping us out with that. But for a huge purchase like this, I'm not sure there'd be much help that they could do with the drug forfeiture funds.
I think you can appreciate that. We're always cognizant of where we're going to find funding for so much of our necessary things. We really are.
And then add on to that too, ma'am, just so you do know, there are limitations. There's rules and regulations on what you can use drug forfeiture funds for. And I'm not even sure that you can use them for the procurement and purchase of radios.
Okay. John, sorry I overstepped you.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just touching my face. I wasn't raising my hand. But just a quick question, Chief, what about the system that these radios run on? Well, new radios, I mean, I do know that these radios need to be replaced. I experienced that firsthand. I've been on several ride-alongs, gone into several structures with police, and the radios just stopped working. Will these new radios improve that type of performance if they're still running on the same system that our current radios are running on?
I believe what's happening now, yes, they will. They'll have, it's a digital radio that have a higher capability. But I believe that there might be some upgrades going on too with the radio systems that are in place in the county.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, again, as the former police officer of the group here, there's things that you can live without. Radios are not one of those things. These are vitally important pieces of equipment. And I'm all for looking for alternate sources of funding, but let's face it, we've got the money now to buy these radios, and it's long overdue. So for me, this isn't even a question. If we have the money, which we do, we need to purchase new radios, because the last thing we need is one of our police officers getting severely injured or killed because their radio doesn't work. So, I mean, for me, this isn't even a question. And I understand that I'm in the minority when it comes to this ARPA money, but we have it and we need these radios desperately. So in my opinion, this is a no-brainer.
Well, we've kicked the can down the road for too many years with this. Like I said, I've been hearing this ever since I've been on council, and it's always been, we can't find the money. We can't find the money. Well, as you're saying, John, we have the money at this point, and it is for the safety of our officers. And, and realizing that we have dead spots in our city that, could be a hazard to our police officers. I think we all have to be cognizant of this and make sure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It is for the safety.
And I would say, considering the position we find ourselves in now, which is a good one, just like a lot of other cities who have received rescue plan money, shame on us if we continue to kick the can down the road, because this is if there's ever a time to do it, it's now. So.
Exactly. But we'll still look for some funding too, Chief.
No, I just want to make
sure. If there's
sure
anything out there.
I just want to make sure we're clear that we have and look for other ways and other means and other sources for funding, and we're just hitting a dead end at this particular point. So,
well, I think everybody in the country is looking for funding, especially with the police departments, the way everything's going across the country.
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
So I think that's where it is. Any other points for discussion here? Thank you, Chief, very much. But you're up next also. I had my husband bring home the disc from the store for codes, and I could not do it on his computer. His computer's too old to find out for the towing ordinance. So I apologize. I'm going into this blind. I hope you have the ordinance, Chief, because I could not download it. This is the problem being virtual, because a lot of my information is at the store. So I'm going to leave this open to you on the towing ordinance.
Right now, with the information that we found on the towing ordinance, it was somewhat difficult to find when I took over as chief. But what we did find, we provided to the solicitor right now. So right now, to understand what we can and cannot do. So we're going to wait for the response from the solicitor.
So do you want to have a discussion at the next public safety meeting?
We can do that. I got more answers. I apologize. There's been some more pressing issues that I've been focused on, and the tow association I will admittedly say that it kind of fell through the cracks for me, but we did had a meeting months ago with the solicitor, and all that paperwork's in the hands of the solicitor right now. We'll just have to step it up then.
If this is okay with the committee, because I would really like to have the ordinance in my hand also, since I couldn't download it today, to have another discussion, because I think we do have to keep up with this. When this was first passed, it was that we were supposed to review this at least twice a year, from what I recall. I'm trying to go back in my memory banks and opening this up to other towing companies. So I think we do have to address this, because I think there are a couple of companies that would like to get more, get involved with this. And I think it should be addressed. It has not been addressed in a long time. At least I have not remember it after we passed it, to be truthful with you. So can we bring this up in 2 weeks and with more information? I know you do have a lot on your plate, Chief, but I think, some of the minor things we do have to address, especially when it involves some of our citizens that are trying to make a living at this.
Absolutely agree.
Okay. So, and anything from the committee that for any other discussions on this, or are you okay for this in 2 weeks? Mayor, anything from you on this? Okay, then we'll wait for this for 2 weeks. Number 4 on the agenda is any related items. Does anybody have anything to bring to the table? Okay, seeing nothing from anybody, I would like a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Chief,
Thanks,
we'll
all.
see you in the next couple of meetings.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye now.